Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Today, we're going to be talking politics, and I'm going to be going back to the treasure trove that is your questions that you sent in. Thank you so much. I want to just wish everybody a happy to meet your probation officer day if you celebrate, because that's what Trump is doing today. And it couldn't happen to a better person. So that's something that's fun and interesting to note. We're going to start off with we talked about probation day. I want to talk about Flynn being indicted. Now, you guys have all asked a lot of these questions, and some of them I have your names, and some of them, the names are just users. So let's talk about somebody has a question in here. A user person has a question here about, is Flynn really indicted? I think Flynn said he was indicted himself when he was talking to Bannon on some sort of podcast. And my spirit guides, my connection says, yes, he's indicted. And it says he's multiple times indicted, that some of these indictments are federal indictments. And I think some of them might be state indictments. If the state indictments haven't dropped yet, they're going to drop. Also, this is the guides are calling this a perfect storm for Flynn. And what they mean, what they showed me was this is going to endanger his military retirement. He could find himself much like Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who had his rank busted after he was found to be, I don't know, the words the guides are using is negligent of his military, like, ethics or responsibilities. I mean, even if you're not in the military anymore, if you're not in that active role, you could still be held accountable. So anyway, they did. And this is what I feel like is going to happen to Flynn. His rank is going to be, he's going to be demoted. I was going to say busted. They used the word demoted. Also, much worse than that, frankly, are these indictments that are coming down the pike, is exactly what they said to me. This feels like unstoppable. It's a freight train. It's coming down the tracks, and you can't stop a freight train very easily, right? So I believe that we're going to be hearing about this by the end of the year, maybe even we may hear about it before this date, but there's something significant around the fall of this year. So he might have gotten a target letter. We talk a lot about target letters, and not that I know what I'm talking about, but I understand that the federal government will sometimes send someone a target letter. Now, again, you guys, why would you let somebody know, hey, we're investigating you? Well, it's because many times um, they quickly act to cover up the crime, and many times we get them on the cover up more than we do the crime. So it actually helps the federal, the DOJ, whoever, whatever department it is. So I believe he's gotten in target letters. He might actually have indictments, but this is all gaining steam, and I think it's going to hit around October, really. So yeah, Flynn is not somebody that you would want to be right now. Now, of course, he's going to continue doing his dog and pony show across the United States of horribleness, right? I mean, he's really a problem. Now, we do have Bannon locked up, and the guides, I look back at my videos, and the spirit guides predicted that something like over 2 years ago. And I'll put it on the screen because, well, I had gray hair then. So, really, Biden getting in office and Trump getting convicted has made my hair look better and better, right? It's actually reverse aging me. So that's good, right? So yeah, Bannon is in jail as of the first week of July, and that's going to really help us because it's going to take him off of his podcast kind of ginning up of the deplorables. That's why they brought Bannon to me, because Flynn is still doing it, and they said at least Bannon's out of there. Flynn is still going to be free this summer to sort of be this wrecking ball of deplorableness. But there's something he's doing. They're showing me there's something he's doing in these. He has these town halls and these rallies. He also has a new movie out. When he does this stuff, he's actually incriminating himself, and I don't think he knows it, which I love that. I love that for him. Couldn't happen to a better person, right? So The DOJ has something on him. And again, there's a state as well, has something on him. And as he continues on with his nonsense, it's like Trump. They're incriminating themselves every time they open their mouths. So there's not really a huge rush to do this. And that's something else I'll move into. Let's talk about not, well, anyway, let's talk about Jack Smith. I think Jack Smith is investigating him. Yes, I think they're saying yes. But let's talk about how, when I said there's no rush, because that brought me to Jack Smith, because Jack Smith has now got these two cases. Okay, let's talk about the Chutkin case and let's talk about the Cannon case. The two cases that are under right now, anyway, that are under Jack Smith's purview. I believe, I know, they're telling me he's going to have more cases coming out, but it's really important as far as the energy is concerned. It's really important that Trump he got convicted, but it's really important that he get his sentence. That's actually going to, it should not, but it's going to impact judges in the appellate courts, for instance, in the courts above Cannon, and how they rule. So it's a lottery. You don't know what judges is a 3-panel judge. I believe that Jack Smith could kick his case up from Cannon and say, I want to go over her head. I think she needs to, mandamus, rid of mandamus. She needs to be removed. She should have recused herself. She's not really an ethical or a neutral party to this case. Okay. But what I feel like is happening is, and this is why there's no rush, right? Because they need to get Trump squared away. Okay, this is what the guys are telling me. You guys, look, I already had to request couples therapy for us yesterday. Just take your complaints up directly with them. I am just the messenger. But if you've got a mad badger running around your house, I've never even seen a badger in reality. But anyway, if you got a mad badger running around your house, it would behoove you to contain the mad badger before maybe you go and fix the plumbing that might be flooding your house, right? Like, what do you do first? Do I get the plumbing or do I get the mad badger? Or you're going to get the mad badger, and that is Trump. Now, so when we go into, because again, not only because Trump, the mad badger, is causing mayhem and needs to be now sentenced because he's been convicted by a jury of his peers, but also because it has this ripple effect throughout the judicial system. And not only that, but also throughout Congress. So you're going to just see a sea change of energy by August 1st. Really they said July 15th. So even by a few days after his sentencing hearing, you're going to see a sea change. And again, this is also an opportunity for us to see with our own eyes. Oh, this judge is now acting differently. Oh, this congressperson is now acting differently. My governor, my senator, my state senator, whoever, they seem to be singing a different tune. For instance, they just showed me Lindsey Graham might be singing a different tune, after 45 is sentenced. So this is also why Jack is sort of waiting. Now, he's also waiting for Supreme Court, okay? But I think this is why he's waiting on going around Cannon. Now, staying with Judge Cannon for a second, I asked again. I got an update from my spirit guides. I'll have all new, fresh information after we had our couples session yesterday, and everything is now settled down, I think. But anyway, we're currently not speaking. I'm speaking to them about politics. I got some other problems, but anyway. So Cannon and Smith, he's still going around her. She is a problem. Okay, she is a problem. I'm not saying she's not a problem. She's really been a thorn in his backside because she's done it in a way that's been hard for him to go around her. By doing these verbal things, he can't, it's my understanding that however she's doing whatever she's doing, it's hard for him to go around her because she's doing it in a way that's different. So again, I believe someone is coaching her allegedly in how to do this. So that it's hard on Jack Smith. But it's not lost on anybody, including the higher courts, what is going on here. It's pretty clear what is going on here. But Jack Smith needs to win the lottery. He needs to get the judges that could be fair and balanced. And Jack Smith believes that after the 11th, or after it's, we're very sure that 45 has lost his touch with reality, which he just was talking about sharks and a car and flooding and being electrocuted by a battery. And, he's talked about this before. If I'm in a car and it's flooding and I'm going to get electrocuted by the battery, I mean, this is something. Look, you guys, he was talking about toilets. Remember when he went on national TV as our president and was saying we have a national crisis because the toilets won't flush? Well, most of us are not trying to flush documents down our toilet. But anyway, the craziness has been around for a while, but it is getting worse. So if the powers that be, and I'm thinking judges here, I'm thinking, elected officials, start to lose faith and hope in him, you're going to see Jack Smith have that confidence, extra confidence to go around Cannon. He is going to go around her. I just don't know if it's going to be, this week, next week, or next month. But it is very soon. He's going to go around her. That energy is the same. It has not changed. Let's go to Chutkan for a second. So Chutkan's court case, or the court case in which Judge Chutkan is presiding, is the one that is now up to the Supreme Court, right? Like, does he have immunity? Can we even charge him with these charges? Well, let's talk about that, because the Supreme Court hasn't come down with their ruling. It is only June 10th, and I don't expect them to come down with their ruling until closer to the end of the month. There's no reason why they would do this any sooner. This is like write the "I'm breaking up with you" note and you leave it on the counter on your last day in your house, or at lunch, and you don't go back to work, right? So I see them doing this kind of at the end of their session. So the closer we get to their session, which is the end of this month, the closer we are to them actually giving us their opinion. Again, I've talked about this a lot. I think the opinion is going to be Trump is immune in this tiny little area, but not immune in these other areas. Or they're going to kick it back to the court and say, we believe the presidents have immunity in their personal, or in their presidential duties, but they do not in their personal duties. Please sort it out yourself, right? So this has never changed. The spirit guides have said this from day one, especially when it was extremely unpopular. Like when I told you guys Trump was going to be on the ballot in Colorado, and you guys didn't take that so well. 1-800 spirit guides, press 1 for complaints. I can't help you. I got my own problems with them. Get in line. You can have your own couples therapy session with them. But anyway, the guides have always said they're going to carve out an exception. There's like a sliver of immunity. From day one, the guides have always said this. How that manifests, I don't know. Whether they kick it back and they say, yes, presidents get presidential immunity because they have to do hard things, right? Every once in a while, we just have to, unalive or off someone. I can't say certain words on YouTube, right? So, and presidents it should be okay for them to do regime change. It should be okay for them to snuff out a rival. You know what I mean? I don't even know where the parameters are on this. It's absolutely ridiculous, honestly. But here we are. So, Chutkan's case, Jack Smith's case, what I saw was, when I went into this energy, I saw him And I was all up in Jack Smith's business, and I got to tell y'all something, okay? Like for real. Y'all need something to fan yourself with. I know how y'all are. Y'all get hot under the collar. All of y'all do. Okay. I was all up in this man's business. I didn't ask to be up in this man's business. I just said, "How are you doing, Jack Smith?" And then there I was. And I'm like, "Damn, son, close the door, lock the door, something, you know? I mean, what is going on?" Anyway, not going there. But anyway, I saw the man standing before a wall. Interestingly enough, the guides wanted me to understand that it wasn't a brick wall, it wasn't a rock wall, it was a metal wall, a sheer, like some sort of sheer slick surface. And he was right like 1 foot from the wall. Okay. And he looks up, and as he looks up, I look up, and I see that the wall goes to the sky. I mean, it just goes till we don't know where it goes. And obviously, that is the Supreme Court. He is blocked by a wall that goes to the Supreme Court. So, what happened next was very fascinating. As he was standing there, and his energy, he was not mad, he was not impatient, he was steely. He was so ready to act, to take action, but yet not impatient about taking the action. I mean, pretty incredible. So as I'm standing there behind him, the wall shimmers, and it just shimmers a little bit, right? And he goes through the wall. And I'm like, I don't know where he went. And I look behind me, and I see like it's like all his staff, the prosecutors, whoever they all are, and their eyes are like as big as like dollar, like, silver dollars. And I'm like, where did he go? And they're mute. They're not talking to me. And they're just like, and when I went into their energy, they think this man can perform miracles and magic. They think literally if he wanted to, he could walk on water. They think that if he's in the rain, no raindrops fall on him. They literally think he is not human. They l- they it's not that they worship him, it's that they are in awe of him. And so for them, it was like that tracks. That tracks that he would just go through a shimmering wall like that. Now, what does that mean? Because when then the wall came down and I couldn't, it was there again, but he's not here anymore. So what I feel like is he takes a vacation, he takes a break. Um, he's I don't know how to describe it, but he popped up beyond the wall when I went through the wall. He popped up like there's some hills, green, really green, pretty green fields of hills that just look like little, gentle hills. And he pops up back there. And I'm like a little figure, like far away. And I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing, man? Are you like having fun? Because I don't think this is the time to like play with like timelines and time jumping. I mean, really? Do you really have to, like do this? So I feel like if I were to make this into our reality, what I would say is they're telling me he's casting a field. He's casting, he's working with someone far away, perhaps in a different land, perhaps on a different shore, perhaps in a different country. He's working with somebody far away. Now, I don't know, but I think he could be going to visit them, or he's having communication with these people in a different place. So even though the wall is stopping him with Judge Chutkan's trial, which is the Supreme Court, he's still working. He's still got an angle. Just like with Judge Cannon, he still has an angle. He's going around her. He like okay, is another metaphor they showed me, especially with is this with Chutkan or Cannon? This is what Cannon. So with Cannon, he's at his desk and he's got like folders, like 5 piles of folders. And whenever Cannon does something that blocks him, he just picks up a different file folder and says, here's my move. Here's a new charge or a new response. I mean, he's got all these backup plans always. He never runs out of backup plans. So he's got backup plans also for Chutkin. And I just nothing is going to stop him. Period. End of story. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about him being stopped. Nothing is going to stop him. They're telling me that this is the man who was, involved in The Hague, right? I mean, he had to run those people down, International Criminal Court, for a long time, sometimes years, decades, before you can find that one worldwide war criminal that's been on the lam. And he never ever stops looking for them. So these judges are kind of like playtime for him. Like, he doesn't even think he's not even tired, he's not even flexing. He's just like child's play. Go ahead, I'll wait for the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, I'm working over here with this source, perhaps about something new that's coming down the pike. So hopefully that made sense. Another person asked about Ukraine. I went ahead and posted on my community page about Ukraine. Things are really heating up over there in a very good way. And you can also ascribe this energy to the bullies. Okay, so Netanyahu is a bully, Trump is a bully, Putin is a bully, Erdogan is a bully. These autocrats, dictators, oligarchs, whatever you want to call them, they're all sort of having their rear ends handed to them. They're all meeting their karma, is what the guides are saying right now. So as far as Putin goes, he's really he's up against it. When I go into his energy, and again, I'm not going to get terribly close because they have their own people that work with them doing this work, and they can really give me a SWAT down, let's just say. But somebody has him pushed up against the wall. It's his chest is pushed up against the wall. His face is to the side. You know how your cheek gets pushed up? He's pushed up against the wall, and his shoulders are back because something is in between his shoulders, a knee, an elbow, something not nice. Now, is that physical or is that metaphorical, or is that physical? They're saying to me that's physical. Is that now or later? Later, but it's coming. It's a coup. It's sort of some sort of coup kind of situation happening. Now you have that going on, and at the same time, the spirit guides always said, when Ukraine gets the fighter jets, it's game over. Now, why it's taken so long for them to get fighter jets? Because I know for a fact that Ukrainian pilots have been training on flying these jets. Of course, the guides are telling me, well, it takes a long time to make a fighter pilot. It takes a long time to train somebody in a specific type of jet. It's not something you do on a weekend. It's not something you do in a month. And plus, they're reminding me that a lot of the manuals and the controls are in English. It's not in Ukrainian. It's not in a language so you've got a language barrier, you got a skill set barrier, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, now they're starting to get the jets, and they're not only getting jets from us, they're getting jets from other countries. And something the spirit guides have mentioned before, which is as long as the United States was really providing a lot of arms to the Ukraine country, they required Ukraine to not overstep the border. They said you can't go into Russia. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to give you the capacity, the firepower to reach over the border of Russia. But what happened was, when the United States Congress didn't give Ukraine any money or any weapons, well, then Ukraine said, well, guess what? The deal is off. We've got to survive. We got to save ourselves, I guess. So then Ukraine started sending drones over there. Ukraine started going over the border and attacking Russia haphazardly, not any real. I mean, it definitely helped, but I wouldn't say it was a huge show of force. But now Ukraine is getting these jets, and now the countries are saying, go forth and prosper, right? Do what you got to do. If you got to fly this thing to Moscow, you do what you got to do, right? We're going to be like this. We're going to be looking like you're going to be peeking behind our hands because we don't want a World War III, but we understand you've got to do what you got to do. So days are numbered for Putin. I have gotten the timing really wrong in this, and timing is really difficult because people have free will. For instance, when that guy that they're not giving me his name, Kadyrov, was it Kadyrov who sent his tanks and troops right all the way into Russia, going towards the one of the main institution buildings. And then that same guy, his plane accidentally blew up in midair. Well, this was an opportunity for Putin to have been taken out. That was free will. It was that man's free will to turn around. So we predict these things. We predict these coups. We predict he's sick. I think he is sick, but he's been saved by a doctor. He's been saved by the guy that turned around and didn't go through with his actions. So that's the problem with this energy. But I will say that looking at the worldwide energy of bullies, it's over. It's this. They've gone into overtime. If you watch sports, like they're on borrowed time, the spirit guides just said. So they've gone over their soul contract exit date. They're sort of on the lam themselves on the planet. Okay. So I don't expect Putin to last the year. And I expect Ukraine to probably bomb out of some cities in Russia. And I expect that to cause mayhem. If you go back to my 3 original Russian war videos, it's all of those videos have exactly come true except for the timing. And what I've seen, what the outcome is the Russian people rise up. They just rise up and they just say, that's it, we're not taking this. Now they have more than a few times risen up and battled with the state police, but they've been put down. But this is energy is going to continue. It's not going to stop. It's just so they riot, they get put down, but the next time they riot, it's more. They get put down. The next time they riot, it's more. It's escalating. So that's also going to cause a problem. And how I've always seen this ending is with Russia specifically is some sort of autocrat, some sort of dictator type person, man comes in and they have a connection to the military. Even if they're a oligarch, they still have a connection to the military, or they're a military man that has a connection to the oligarchs. And because here's the thing, you guys, Russia is worth too much money. In case you haven't noticed, everything is about money, everything. And Russia has the ability to be in a very wealthy country. Maybe not for its people, but for the oligarchs. If you recall, before Putin invaded Ukraine, those oligarchs lived the life. They had every Ivy League school in any country that they wanted to go to. They had the villas, they had the jet set. They were also well liked. They were well liked in the world community of money. Well, then once Russia did this, they started to become pariahs. And then they started to have their yachts seized, their villas seized. And then they started to be offed one after another. So the few oligarchs that are left, they remember just a few short years ago how wonderful their life was. And they want that back. And they don't really care about owning Ukraine. They care about money. And if they just go back into their little country, their big country, and they start working on their infrastructure again and working on some kind of, ways to get rid of these sanctions, or to work with countries that don't have sanctions against them, they can start really reaping a lot of money. And not only that, but you got to remember, people have generational plans. They have kids, grandkids, great grandkids. So they know that in a generation, there's not going to be sanctions, that they can be back rolling in the dough, but they got to get rid of Putin. So there's just Putin has too many enemies, and for all the right reasons, and sometimes for the wrong reasons, sometimes for greed. But so I see Russia becoming kind of less free market even than it is now, because they're going to have to put down the uprisings and the riots. So I see a closing down of Russia. And then I see in 5 years, I see a reopening of Russia. They always use the word glasnost, which was the word that they used when they opened, I think, East Germany. Or it was maybe it was the word that Brezhnev or somebody used in Russia, but it just means, I think it just means opening, right? So basically, imagine that. The Ukraine war is done. Ukraine is being rebuilt. I also saw Ukraine being rebuilt with as a modern country, and I mean super high tech modern, the kind of modern that you see in Dubai that you don't see throughout the world. You just don't see this. But the whole Ukraine country is, the cities are high tech, super modern, and architects bid and give their services away free to rebuild these cities. So I've always seen Ukraine being the phoenix that rises out of the ashes. So in this way, within a year even, I can see the peace, and I can see the beginning of the rebuilding, and this all dovetails also with the world order. We've talked about that too. Ukraine will be in NATO, and NATO is going to grow, and it's going to become even more powerful. We are going to support it in a bigger way, and that's going to make the world a safer and more peaceful place in general. So that's how I see that happening right now. We have Benny Gantz, is that his name, stepping down from Netanyahu's Security Council or War, whatever it is, division, whatever. I saw this. I don't know that I even said it, but I saw it. But it's a problematic situation, because the guides are showing me some of the people that stayed on peripherally in 45's administration did so to try to dampen the damage or lessen the damage. They did it out of a sense of patriotism, actually. So when I went into Benny Gantz's, is that his name, energy, he was trying to be the voice of moderation. He was trying to be the voice of reasonableness, and he really feels horrible that he says, I was shouting into the void. So whereas with 45, you know 45 is a different thing. They can hand him a different coloring book and a Big Mac, and he would go and turn on Fox News, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean, he was taken care of, and then they could do what they needed to do. Netanyahu is not that easily distracted. Okay, so Benny Gantz had to just, he feels like, I can have more of an impact as an outsider now. It's over. I can't do anything within this regime. I need to be an outsider. Now, going into his energy, because we're talking about bullies, same, it's all the same energy. Going into his energy, he's working with a woman. I don't know who that is. There's some sort of woman who's not an aide. She feels like somebody who's got status, who's I don't know what she does or who she is, but she's somebody perhaps that could even run for office or has some sort of power. She's got a following. Okay, so she is known. He's working with her. I feel like he needs to be careful. I feel like Benny Gantz needs to be careful, because there's a real division. So this is what's happening in Israel, kind of is a little bit like what's happening here in the United States, in the sense that there's a big division between the MAGAs and everybody else. And that's kind of what's happening in Israel. There are people who are really right wing, really I don't know what they're showing me pictures instead of words, but they're very limited in their viewpoint. They are on Netanyahu's side, and they literally will not stop. Okay, like the energy they're showing me is they're not going to stop. There is nothing that satisfies their bloodthirst. I mean, that's just what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. There's no peace treaty. There's no assuredness. There's no nothing. There's nothing. He doesn't want to stop. Um, Especially these people with Netanyahu. These people with Netanyahu are even worse than him. Okay, and so Netanyahu, he's a very well, he is formidable, but he's very smart. He's a smart politician. He understands power. He understands where the power is, and he understands when it's starting to ebb away from him. He gets it. He's not a blunt force in the sense that he doesn't care. He cares. He understands the subtleties of power. So Netanyahu is trying to set up some situation. Maybe he's already done this. I'm just channeling, so I don't know. He's setting up this situation where he's saying it's not me, it's these cabinet members or these people who are right wing. They're the ones that are doing the voting, or they're the ones who are pulling us into this. It's not really me. See, I'm I'm reasonable. I'm being reasonable. I think he's already done this, hasn't he? The guides are saying that these are some of the things he's done with Biden. Oh, yes, I can assure you that I'm reasonable, that I'm going to take every care to make sure that citizens are not harmed. And then he doesn't listen, right? He's so in this way he's trying to blame somebody else. I don't know, he's trying to blame like a general or a cabinet member or something. He's trying to pass the blame, but it's not going to work. It doesn't work. But as you see Benny outside of this power structure that is Netanyahu, you see Benny separately with a group. He's actually right now pulling together a cabinet of his own, a group of advisors of his own. It seems like he's going to make a run against Netanyahu. He's either going to somehow force an election or a coalition election, or I'm hearing the words no confidence, some sort of no confidence vote in the government. But he's just now getting his people together. Benny is. And there's a sense, frankly, that they need to be careful, that they need to be more careful than they even know that they need to be. So, of course, in this kind of very tight, very tense situation, you would think, I got to watch my back. I've got to be very careful. Again, I don't know how much I should say here, but let's just say that BB works with other people who might be from a country that we just talked about, and that country plus this is so weird. I don't really want to talk about this because I think, let's just say that BB works with countries that he says he hates. That's it. That's all I need to say. BB is working with countries that he says are his enemies to cause problems for Benny Gantz, or Gatz or Gantz or whatever his name is. So that's a developing story, and send prayers for him, because this is he is a target. He's been targeted. I can't tell you how it's going to end because he's got free will, and if he takes this very seriously, I think he'll be okay. But I think you might see in the news an attempt, and I think that attempt may be labeled as having come from another country. Okay, because that stirs the pot, because these people don't want peace. Once you figure that out, they don't want peace. They want to stir the pot. They want chaos. But the end is coming near for BB, and then there's some kind of reconciliation, like a formal committee or council called reconciliation formed, And what I'm seeing, guys, is listen, I am just the messenger. I could be wrong. This is all psychic, and I'm going to say allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. But it seems like it goes over the heads of the Palestinians to other countries who are Middle Eastern countries. And these two power brokers work out a deal for a two-state solution. And nobody asked the Palestinians. Nobody asked them, what do you want or what do you need? It's two big power brokers, you know, working out a solution for this property, for this land. And the Palestinians themselves are the last person to have any say in it, and they've been very weakened. And I don't think they've ever had a voice. Hamas is not their voice. It's not. I don't think they've ever had a true voice, sadly. So I'm going to move on from that. Let's briefly talk about the EU, the European Union, and Macron, the president of France, saying, oh, I'm going to call a snap election because I want to know what the country wants. Okay, so it's not going to affect Macron's presidency. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I'm Texan. I might say you're saying it wrong. So anyway, it's not going to, I don't think it affects him. I think it affects his parliament or his governmental group. I know that this guy is pretty ballsy. Okay, I know that, but I also feel like he's got this. And I feel like it shuts them up. It shuts up Le Pen's group once and for all. And actually the spirit guides correctly predicted that Le Pen was going to lose. Everybody was freaking out because she had a lot of support for her right-wing party. But the guides predicted Macron would win, and he did. And I think that he's going to have an even more support with this new vote. He's doing it to further marginalize her and her party. Okay, so I really think it's going to be okay. Now, the votes that have been recently voted in the EU and European Union that are right wing, I mean, that's a problem. This is what we're talking about. This is the last video that I did where I talked about the bully energy and the right wing. This is a worldwide phenomenon. So what I feel like is going to happen is, again, everything goes, all roads go back to 45 because he's kind of like the poster boy for this because, he basically has cooed America, right? I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So as we move Grandpa on the porch further and further into his special room, whatever that is, we put him under some sort of containment. As that happens, you're going to find it's like dominoes across the world. Now, it's not just because 45 is convicted, he was, and he has more and more charges, he does, and he'll be convicted of those, he will, and he will lose his appeal for E.G. and Carroll, he will. It's because the world watched in horror. I know, because a lot of people from other countries watch me on this video and watch all of us. And they're like, my God, what is happening to the United States of America? Well, they know that this kind of energy it gets unleashed and then it spreads across the entire world. So they know, having watched what we've been through, they know they need to stand up, that they need to be more active as well. So like in my last video, I talked a lot about how we need to be more active, even in our states, in our cities, in our towns, and for sure on the federal, the national level. We can no longer be asleep at the wheel because this thing almost went off the cliff. Well, guess what? Everybody else got the same memo. So, and they got the same memo in this far right people being elected to the EU, which that far right contingency, they want to destroy the EU. This is the same energy that took Brexit, that took Britain out of it. So it's not helpful. It's meant for chaos. It's meant for complete and total abandonment of any kind of democracy or democratic ideas. So we've all got our marching orders. We're all going to show up. And I think that just like the spirit guide said about Ukraine being attacked, this is going to build a bigger, stronger, more fight ready NATO. But it's also going to build a bigger, stronger, more European Union, because we all now know just how easily and quickly our freedoms can disappear. So you're going to see more people, the people are going to vote in better leaders. The leaders are going to vote in better EU. It's just everybody's going to be much more on edge and much more involved. And that goes with this as well. If the people are more involved and on edge and their leaders aren't listening to them, they're going to be in the streets. So it's sort of like a trigger, a hair trigger about this. The leaders will be held to account because the people will be more likely to show up and protest and make their wants, their wishes, their desires heard. So there's pressure. So I think this is actually good for the world. It's good because we needed these changes and we were asleep. And now we woke up just in time to grab the steering wheel and steer it away from the cliff. So I think that's good. The last thing I'm going to talk about is not something you guys asked about, but it's something the spirit guides showed me. And it's a little kind of horrifying, actually. I mean, I don't know why, because we all knew this, but it's 45 and it's allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. And it has to do with his, again, alleged rape of minors. Alleged. Okay. I know there was some women who are not, young girls anymore, because this was whatever it was, 10, 15, I don't know, 20 years ago. I don't know. There were some women that came forward, but then they disappeared again. So it seems like there's women that have come forward and for whatever reason have backtracked. Well, now the guides showed me this because it's coming for Donald. It's coming for him. I'm telling you guys once again, it is a freight train. It's not stopping. It's another situation where women in the divine feminine are going to take this man out. Literally take him out. So there's renewed energy around that situation where there were some young ladies. Now, I'm not talking about the young ladies that allegedly when he was in charge of the Miss USA or World pageant or something, and he would just walk in to the big room where all the ladies or the young ladies were getting ready and they were in various stages of undress, and he would just walk through there and talk to them or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual sexual assault. And I'm talking about an eyewitness that I feel like has come forward before, but this person is a third party eyewitness. Someone who was there and watched it happen and who was either employed or made to be there. I don't understand it, but this is what the guides are saying. And there's allegations that these young women that were, I'm just going to call it SA'd. You can understand what that stands for. These women that were SA'd were going to bring charges, and then they were threatened with physical harm and death. And so they said, never mind, peace out. We'll just be quiet. Okay. This isn't going away. It's not going away. It's like water. You can try to put up those sandbags, but the water's going to find a way. It's going to seep. It's going to get higher than the sandbags. It's going to go around. The water is going to find a way. And this is going to find a way to him. And it's really going to be damning. And I almost feel like it's the last nail in his followers, in their, I mean, they're already passing out at record heat in whatever Arizona. And he already said on video during his speech, I don't really care about you all. I just want you to vote for me. I think he was even talking about how it was so hot. And he was saying, I don't know what y'all are worried about. I'm the one sweating. You guys have people that'll pick you up if you pass out. I'm up here alone. I mean, it's always about him. How many times can his followers hear this? They're getting tired of hearing it. And there was another ad that was put out that was public. I mean, people found it, where he was paying people to show up at his rallies. So how many of those people are paid? How many of those people are really, really MAGAs? Because I'm here to tell you that these MAGAs are dropping off of his, list of their support for him. And I feel like this conviction was a big deal. I think the sentencing is going to be a big deal. I think his nonsense rambling is a big deal. And I think that this SA that's coming out, more and more and more is coming out, is the last straw. It's the last straw in his support. I really feel like that. And I feel like something's going to happen in 6 weeks. I would probably, so 6 weeks is, this is the 10th, 4 weeks is July 10th. So 6 weeks is right around the convention, the Republican convention. Now, I know you're sitting here screaming at the screen. I wonder how I know that. And you're saying, Susan, what about Ghislaine or Ghislaine or whatever the heck her name is? I don't care. She's got this tell-all book coming out, right? The guides are telling me there could be some things in there that are damning, that are surprising, but mostly it's like stuff we already knew. Plus, well, I mean, like this, like I already knew this, that these young girls who are now whatever, 20s or whatever, have come out and said, we want to say that this man did this to us. We already knew that, right? So I think this book is going to be things that we already knew, but I think that it somehow, it puts the punctuation that was missing out of some sentences. Does that make sense to you? Like it clears things up, or it makes things more believable that other people have said. It adds just a little extra. Like, Michael Cohen's testimony added some extra things that we didn't know about, right? And then when you add those extra things, you're like, oh, now this little dot over here makes sense with this dot, fills in the dots. I think it may do that. I don't think it's anything that is going to just outright put him in jail, but I do think it adds more weight to the stress that he's carrying, to the fears that he's carrying. I think it adds more talking points for the talking heads to talk about, which he doesn't need, he doesn't want. Nobody wants that when you're trying to run for president. They don't want more and more terrible stories coming out about you. They don't, and the media loves this kind of salacious stuff, so they'll run with it, they'll talk about it. So it's not going to help him. So I really think, again, I still see something happening to him around the convention, if not before. And I'll just take a minute. I'll just take 1 second right now and look at him. So I feel things in my body. Okay. I mean, that's one of the things that I do. And I just lost my breath. And I'm having a hard time breathing. And I originally saw something with my head. I had a clairvoyant, so it's different type of psychic energy understanding. I like, my head hurt. I thought I hit my head. That's the first thing that happened, is I thought I've hit my head. I mean, maybe I did. Maybe me being me as 45. Okay. I'm in his energy. Maybe I fell down and I hit my head, but my head is hurting. Then I'm having this in my chest, having a really hard time breathing. Now I'm also unsteady. I was unsteady on my feet. I feel like I'm lightheaded and then I fall. Now, is this a heart attack? I don't know. Is this a panic attack? I don't know. Is it low blood sugar? Don't know. Is it a stroke or a ischemic or otherwise? I don't know. I've seen all those things. I've talked to you guys about all those things. We've predicted all those things. I'm not God. Spirit's going to figure this out. His spirit guides are going to figure this out. Everybody's going to figure this out. Could he hit his head and have a real concussion or head injury? Maybe. I don't know. Anything can happen. So when I'm doing readings like this, sometimes I go into the person's, and I don't do readings right now, so don't think that, but I did. I would go into the person's soul contract because that kind of tells you what's going to happen. Because if the soul contract is you get to just peace out, like you get to just I'm out, like a big heart issue, and boom, you're out of your body, you're crossed, and you're done. That okay? But you could also have a soul contract that says, "No, no, I don't want that. Like I did that my last life. I don't want to repeat things. Like I want to keep learning new things, you know? So I'm going to this time I'm going to have a big heart issue and then I'm going to hit my head and then the doctors are not going to know that I have a brain bleed. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to end up in a hospital and then I'll be at Walter Reed, and that, you know, so then the government will be blamed, and then somehow Fauci will be in this, you know what I mean? Like before it's over with, right? So he, in my opinion, right now, I don't see him. It's honestly a blessing, is it not, to have a quick ending? Isn't that a blessing? Don't we all wish for that? I don't know that I see that with him. I kind of see like a stumble, a fall, a whack, and then problems like either speech problems, yeah, speech slurring, sure, I can't talk, I'm slurring, but I don't know that I'm slurring. So that to me that sounds like a stroke. I'm not wishing anything on anybody. I'm simply as a reporter reporting what I'm seeing. That's all I'm doing here. And if 45 doesn't want anybody to see this, he should block it. I'm not going anywhere that's beyond public. When I do these readings, I stay in the public sphere of the psychic energy. Could I crawl all up in that man's energy in his head? Yes, I could. I refuse to. Absolutely I refuse to. Plus, it's not healthy for me. So I look at this from a healthy distance, right? Like our auras extend, right? Like extend 5, 8, 10, 15 feet, depending on you. And if this man's got a sloppy aura and his aura's all up out here, you know, like anybody can get all up in it or near it or whatever, then that's on him. He's good at hiding his taxes. He's not good at hiding his energy, you know? So I'm not doing anything that's breaking his free will. I just want to explain that because somebody called me out on that before, and I don't do that. I really don't. Um, you don't see me on here reading about Barron and Barron's free will. I don't do that. Trump is a public figure. He said, for that reason, everybody gets to talk about him. Everybody gets to take his picture. I'm a citizen of the United States. He's running for president. So I have certain things just as a citizen, but I also take that into consideration as far as the ethics go with the psychic sort of energy that I'm getting. So that's what I got. So to me, and my chest still hurts. Not as bad, but why did I mean, I can't get the word. It's a medical word. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the man is going to be minimized. He's going to be less than. Can he? So it's the last thing I'll say. Could he hide it? Yes. Could he have this? Oh God darn! They keep trying to give me the word. Um, fart. Infarct. I'm not saying fart, y'all. Infarct. Um isn't that like a heart attack? An f fart. Farked. I don't know. Anyway, he could try to hide it. And or his handlers could try to hide it. They could try to minimize it. They could say he fell down. Remember when Hillary, thank you. Remember when Hillary fell down out of exhaustion? Remember when she fell out of exhaustion? Trump is going to do the same thing, and they're going to say the same thing. Look, you guys gave Hillary a pass. Trump is exhausted. He's been, y'all have been hounding him and dogging him and all this terrible things you've been doing to him. He was exhausted. He fell down, just like Hillary. That is not true. It's not just like Hillary because he had some sort of boom in his chest. Infarct? I don't know what that is. Anyway, so it's not the same thing. So they could hide it. So then you'll see, him not being around as much. He'll be in recovery. He'll be taking it easy. He'll be doing videos from Mar-a-Lago or wherever the hell he's sentenced, because I think he's going to be sentenced by around this same time. Could this happen during the sentencing? Don't make me feel that again. That was, I mean, as these things go, I've had worse. I felt worse before. It wasn't that bad, but it was, say, a small one or a medium one. It wasn't a game ender. It wasn't a, I don't know what the word they're using. But anyway, there's something going on in his stomach. I mean, my mouth, you know how when you get nauseous and your mouth turns down and you can't help it? You know how you're like you're getting ready to toss your cookies and your mouth turns down? Something going on in his stomach too. He's a mess. He's a complete mess, you guys. He's not going to make it. He's not going to be viable through this thing, but he's going to stumble his way through maybe even the next, I don't know, timing is impossible, but maybe even as much as the next couple of months, because that gives us more lessons. What it also does is demolish the rest of the Republican Party, because someone like Nikki Haley's like, let me in, let me get in there, take that man and wheel him out. You know what I mean? Drag him out. She doesn't even care, right? Just get him out of here. Here I am, America. I'm the new Republican nominee. But it ain't going to be that easy, Ms. Nikki, because they're going to prop Trump up like Weekend at Bernie's. They're going to prop him up in the corner and, have a ventriloquist over there speaking for him and try to find some Trump lookalike, like they got Melania lookalikes and like Putin lookalikes. They're going to be out there. Hey, if anybody out there, if y'all look like Trump, you probably already been living a hell. But anyway, hide, change your hair, dye your hair black, shave it. If you look remotely like Trump, there's going to be a van that pulls up. They're going to knock you in the head, drag you in there. Next thing you know, you're going to be at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. Weekend at Bernie's for real. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is working out. We're just in the process. We're in the process of the process. We're dealing with all of these things, but everybody knows what the game plan is. Everybody knows what their role is. Everybody signed up. They're suited up. They're doing the work. It's just a matter of keeping our heads, on a swivel and staying sane, taking care of ourselves. And, again, action makes you feel better. So text bank, donate, volunteer, print up those signs. I'm not going to stop talking about those signs. Print up the yard signs that say, if you use birth control, Republicans voted to take it away. They have this thing called guerrilla marketing, where when you don't have any money, you're over there putting signs on telephone poles, right? Like you're just trying to advertise your business any way you can. This is guerrilla political marketing. We've got to get out in the communities. It's not about Republicans or Democrats, it's about issues. Put the signs out about issues. Don't vilify them. Simply say, truth is, 30 plus Republicans voted against birth control. If you don't pay attention, I don't know what you're going to be doing in December. You fixing to have babies next year. You know, issues. Put the issues on the yard signs. Don't blame Republicans. Don't vilify them. Be safe. Take really, really good care of yourselves. I'll see you again real soon. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a political video, I think, on Wednesday night with Kevin, Kevin Loving Vibrations. You guys, he is so accurate. Please check him out. Kevin Loving Vibrations, super accurate. Tomorrow, I'm going to be live with Afefe. We're going to be doing personal readings. So we are at your service. Take really, really good care. I'll talk to you real soon.